Hey, January, what do you think passing means?
Honestly, I think it depends on the context, but I want to see what you think first.
All right. We'll get into it in a minute. Whether you're listening for the first time or already a part of our community, I'm your host, JJ, and this is another episode of Unstrapped the Podcast. Today's episode features a guest of the podcast. Our word of the day is passing. Our topic of the day is growing into my masculinity. So unstrap, sit back, and relax. Let's get into it. A little bit about our guest today. January is joining our podcast directly from social media, as you might have guessed it. I'm going to speak nonstop about our open door policy. We're really excited to hear directly from the mass community. Inviting January, who signed up after checking us out on social media, perfectly exemplifies what's to come. January, can you tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself? First, what do you identify
Yeah,
as?
I identify as transmasc.
Okay. And so, what are your preferred pronouns?
My preferred pronouns are they, them.
Okay, I appreciate you sharing that. I know you have a business. Can you tell us a little bit about it and, where people can find you?
Yeah, so the name of my business is called Femmes at Large. So it's spelled Femmes and then the at symbol and then large, LRG. It's basically a platform that's based on helping people to embrace not only their masculinity but their femininity as well, fighting against femphobia in the media space. I actually have a podcast associated with the platform called Femmes at Large presents femininity and whatever we like to talk about. So yeah, it's a pretty cool space. It's definitely just queer, fun, and like for black and brown bodies, just exploring what femininity looks like in the space. Yeah.
I appreciate that you have that platform up and running, and I can't wait for all of us to tune in. I have one more question for you. Can you let our listeners know if you are team strapped or unstrapped?
Okay, it's a hard question because I'm kind of an advocate for both. Like depending on the situation, like you gotta be ready for everything. but I'm gonna say unstrapped. I'm gonna say unstrapped. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna go with
Okay,
unstrapped.
team unstrapped. All right, I appreciate you sharing that. That we're here to be vulnerable. We're going to jump into our first segment, which is called Word of the Day. And this is just a moment for us to test our knowledge on, you know, terminology that comes up in the lesbian community. And today's word is passing. So let me read what I found as the definition, right? And let's be clear, I'm not Webster. I'm gonna take whatever definition I think is pretty valid, and we're just gonna go with it. So passing as a lesbian means a woman presents herself in a way that's perceived heterosexual, but in reality, she's a lesbian. What are your thoughts on that?
Mm. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. I think of my partner who I think if you look at her, she seems like she's passing possibly, but she's definitely just like queer, like super queer. So yeah, that definitely tracks.
Is your partner passing in the way that they dress? Is it mannerisms? Like what characteristics are we talking about?
Like she's femme, and she dresses like she can dress androgynous. She kind of her style is very expressive, so it's just kind of what she's feeling for the day. It's a lot of colors. It's really vibrant, bright. I think because she's a black woman, brown skin, beautiful. I don't know. Sometimes people just assume she's straight. Maybe just by looking at her. I'm not sure why. She's not sure why at times, but I think people do assume that until I pop up to pick up from work. I'm like, hey, it's me. So yeah, I I think it's just like people's perceptions. Maybe when it comes to like black women in general, like I think sometimes queerness is seen as white. I don't know if like it's like it's kind of I feel like there's that feeling at least in my opinion, and so
Right.
when you see like a black woman that is just like fully black, fully femme, sometimes they just assume that she got a man, and she might not,
Yeah,
you know.
I agree. I feel like passing is sometimes like one part like what you look like, right? But I also feel like passing can also be like the things that you say and do, right? Because I do feel like
Mm,
we can always make things seem like, okay, we can see it, therefore we can identify it, right? But a lot of the times, if it sounds like a duck, it might be a duck. And so, like,
right,
sometimes, those of us in the queer space, we use terminology that I wouldn't say out us. I feel like that might be a little too strong, but
yeah,
it kind of,
right,
it may be like hints. Let's use the word hints. It hints
mm-hmm,
at, okay, this person might be a part of the queer community at minimum, right? And I feel like
right,
that is a part of the passing culture, if you will.
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. There's definitely like signifiers, like, asking a person their pronouns, or even when you're talking about somebody to someone else and you're not sure what they are, you just go by they, them just to be safe. Yeah, I definitely think they're signifiers. I was like, okay, like, they may be on the rainbow in the alphabet gang. So,
Yeah, that rainbow thick though. That rainbow thick. But yeah, no,
exactly.
I appreciate you entertaining the word of the day. You know what? Let's like jump into a temperature check. This is a time for us to kind of get to know each other and check in on what's happening in our lives. So, what's top of mind for you, Jan?
Wow. I think I'm just trying to figure out just like how I'm feeling with like the climate of everything. So for me, I'm very big into like politics, paying attention, getting a temperature check of the world. And it's a tough time right now. So I'm just trying to keep my spirits up, stay informed because I think it's our social responsibility, but also just trying to like stay up so that I'm able to still create and able to commune. Because I feel like if you don't commune, that's when things will go wrong. So yeah, that's kind of like where I'm feeling at the moment. How about you?
Okay. I think top of mind for me is, well, you already know because we literally spoke like right before the podcast. Right now I'm in San Francisco instead of my normal space in New York. And I'm not gonna lie, I love traveling. I love traveling. I think
Mm,
everyone does for the most part, but I really love it. And today was the first time I stepped on a plane and was scared. Like real fear. Like real
mm-hmm.
goosebumps on my arms, scared because
Mm,
it wasn't that long ago, right? Where out of nowhere, the news every single day, this helicopter went down, this plane went down.
yes.
And like these news stories always happen. Let's be clear. It's just a matter of how you consume news and which news is hitting you
Mm,
at that time, right? The problem for
yeah.
all of us was, it was just in everyone's face. Like we weren't really looking into it, but we just kept hearing about it. And I'm like, oh my, this is the one time where I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping like the prayer warriors on the plane, the ones that like they might even be praying out
Yep.
loud, but they the ones that clap hella hard at the end. You know what I mean?
At
They
the
hit that
end, yeah.
landing, they're just like,
Yeah.
clap it up, clap it up. And I'm like, yup, I'm clapping it up with y'all. I'm clapping it up with y'all. And
Right.
let's be clear, no one goes harder on that clap than going into the Caribbean, especially landing in places like DR and Puerto Rico.
Absolutely.
That clap is spiritual. But yeah, that's kind of what's on my mind. It's just like that fear. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure what it points to. It's just a blanket of fear. And I'm in a place where I'm glad I subscribed to therapy. Otherwise, I would be losing it. But I'm in a
Good.
place where I'm trying really hard to not feel overwhelmed by it, especially if I can't logically rationalize like where it's coming from and at what point does it stop, if that makes sense, right? Like I need to be able to I
Mm-hmm.
rationalize my feelings as much as I can, and that keeps me sane. And in that plane, it was so hard to. It was so hard to.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely like even though yes, like their planes fall, it happens, but like you're saying, I feel like it's been more frequent lately, or at least we hear about it more frequently. So yeah, it's just like it just makes you cognizant of like every day isn't promised, but Exactly. Not getting overwhelmed, still trying to be the best you can and like enjoy what you can. Enjoy the present. You know what I mean? You can't control things. I feel like when we release that control, like things are easier to manage so you don't get as overwhelmed, you know?
Right. I love what you
Yeah.
said. You said, enjoy the present. In what ways
Mm.
do you enjoy the present? Right? Like whether you do it consciously or subconsciously.
Yeah. I think when I like don't put my headphones in, if I'm walking like, on the street, like taking my headphones out, taking in the sounds of everything, and even just like observing like fun stuff that happens on the walk. Like today, I was walking from the store, and this mom was trying to get her kid to like come back. He must have been like maybe a year or two old. This little black kid. And he was trying to run from her, and she like picked him up, tried to chase him. Like it's just like seeing moments like that. I'm like, okay, I'm enjoying the moment. I'm sobers me in a little bit. And I'm like, there's like other things happening than all the stuff we're like consuming day in and day out. Like when you're media conscious and you like to go on like social media a lot, it can really mess with you. Like, so I feel that just taking in your surroundings, especially on walks, that really helps me to like stay in the present.
Okay. Okay, I'm here for it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm definitely a lazy nerd. I definitely like to stay indoors whenever possible, but something
That's
I
real.
just picked back up for the first time, and I don't remember when this app dropped. But I don't really play games on my phone, but because I've been feeling really anxious about a lot of things as of
Mm-hmm.
late, I just started playing Candy Crush again. When I say my
Yes,
my
that's
my mind
yes.
is glued to that weird game, like I pick it up daily. I pick it up daily. Like I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, if I feel weird, Candy Crush. Someone's getting on my nerve, Candy Crush. Like I just got off of work, Candy Crush. And this isn't like a plug
Yeah.
to Candy Crush. They not paying me at all. I mean, they can definitely help sponsor the show, but it's been helping calm my nerves, and I just want to find more outlets like that. Like my fiance, when she's feeling anxious, I love that she knows that she loves creativity and she loves like drawing and she loves coloring. So now she has a whole bunch of coloring books. And so I know she's going through a lot.
Nice.
If I see her whip out all these damn, I mean, because we adults with money. So like all the
Right.
variations of like crayons and like these fancy coloring books, I'm like, all right, cool. She's having a rough day. I'm gonna give her space
Yeah.
and, let her do a
Right.
little coloring thing. And that's cool. You know what I mean? Like finding ways to, manage those feelings.
Mm. Mm-hmm. No, that's actually really beautiful. I'm glad she's finding herself in like in that present moment by doing that. Candy Crush is awesome. I play that too. Like it really helps to calm me down. I don't know what they do with the game. I don't know how they get you to calm down, but it helps. So I hear you.
Have you ever tried and don't worry because I'm gonna sound real hippy dippy in a second, but like have you ever tried anything like meditation?
Yeah, I have definitely tried it. I actually do need to get back on my grind with meditation because, like, it helps me so much, especially if I like do it before work, like, really just sink in. But sometimes I get really distracted, so I'm like, oh, look, I'm not focused today. I'll try again tomorrow, and then I don't try, so I'll forget. But yeah, I definitely want to get back into it, and being more consistent.
Okay. I got into it
Mm.
only because I got a free app called Headspace at one of my last jobs.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, yo, this is dope. And then Netflix added Headspace for free on the app. And I'm like, oh, this is dope. That's the
Okay.
only time I've ever been able to, do meditation. And I'm only putting that plug out there for people because I just want people to be aware of like just all the options you have for managing your feelings. Because at the end of the day, you shouldn't stop yourself from feeling how
Mm.
you feel. And it's really hard to stop you from, taking in those triggers. But it is really good to
Yeah.
know what tools you have available to you, especially if they're like free, um, to, help you manage them. That's all I'm trying to say about that.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but let's keep things going. I love where this conversation's going. We're about to jump into our segment called Doom Scrolling. This is a moment for us to, chime in about anything we've seen on the interwebs. Of course, I'm not really that cool, so I'll say interwebs and not the World Wide Web or the internet. But we could talk about what things we've seen on social media, things we've seen on the news. They made us think, made us laugh, both. Tell me what's on your timeline.
So recently, it was like maybe from a couple days now, but there was a video of WNBA player Natasha Cloud. She was on a podcast. I forgot the name of it. I don't know if it was The Cut. I don't know, but it's a podcast. And she talked about a lot of things on this podcast, but one thing she talked about was her relationship to her girlfriend, Isabel Harrison. Yeah, Isabel Harrison. Coincidentally, they both are on the same WNBA team now. They're playing for the New York Liberty. But one thing that Natasha Cloud had said in the podcast was how grateful she was, or like acknowledging that she has a beautiful girlfriend and that her girlfriend is straight and wanted her. And it was like it was really weird for me. Have you seen that clip at all? Like, I know I sent it to you, but have
Yeah,
you seen that clip before I
yeah.
sent it?
It was a little okay. I'm not even gonna say it was weird, right? Because I'm not gonna lie, and that's the beauty of being in New York City. You hear and see
Yeah.
everything, right? So, if it exists in New York, I'm sure it exists everywhere else. And so, this idea of people being proud of being with someone who doesn't really align with how you identify, I guess, sexually, is where we're going with this, right?
Mm.
Like for example, like I've definitely have dated people who are technically heterosexual, but also these were times in
Mm.
my life where I was technically closeted. And these were times where
Mm.
I'm like, well, maybe they're like, I would give them excuses, right? Like, I'd be like, well, maybe they're fluid and they just haven't come out or whatever, whatever. But that's not the case
Mm.
here. At least that's not what I'm picking up. What do you think?
Yeah, I was kind of in the same vein. Like, I haven't dated anybody who was technically hetero, but like, I have tried to pursue back in my baby gay phase.
Look, we've been there.
And right, everybody has those times. It seems strange for some reason. It feels like internalized homophobia to me. What like in the context of how she was saying it, because it was like one like she's in a space where it's like all like cis straight men, so it was kind of weird
Mhm.
because like keep that at the house, so keep it in the
Yeah,
queer community. Like
yeah.
it felt kind of weird, kind of like, okay, like all these outsiders are kind of like now in this conversation and they don't get it. But then also too, it's just like I think some, especially masculine women, may see, or masculine people may see it as like this straight woman's a prize almost, or like, wow,
Right.
she chose me out of all the mass or all the lesbians out here,
That's how
whatever.
it came out.
But
That's how it came out.
that's how it felt, and so sometimes I feel like it's seen as like a challenge or a prize or possession almost, and not really like a relationship where you're being affirmed. Like, because at the end of the day, like I've seen some people who've dated straight women and those women will date them and then go right back to men, and not saying you can't have preferences and you can't explore your fluidity, but
Right.
sometimes I'm just like, does that affect you? Like, how does that make you feel? Like, I don't know, it's just kind of strange to me.
No, look, here's how I see it, right? It feels strange because if I were to change roles and entities, if you will, if as a stud, right? That's how I identify. It makes me sick, like real barf sick, when a
Yeah.
heterosexual man, and it's always at a bar. I'm one of those people that loves go to a bar, right? I'll go to a bar,
Mm-hmm.
have some cheap drinks. I'm just there for the vibes, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
hate when a heterosexual man knows, with all the signs that I have that I present with, that I'm
Yeah.
clearly queer, at least,
Yeah.
that they go even harder to try and pursue me, and it's
Mm.
like,
Yeah.
bro, this is gross.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing if you ask, fine. I think no one should hide from being asked any kind of questions about themselves. That's how we grow and learn But if you're not just straight up asking, like, am I attracted to men? Am I trying to be with men? But you're assuming that, hey, well, she's a lesbian or whatever. I'm gonna go after her because
Mm-hmm.
maybe she's never been with a man. Maybe I can make her straight. Maybe like
Yep.
I get so sick, so sick. Like I can go
Yeah.
off on that for like hours. But point is, that's how I feel about that same storyline where it's like,
Yeah.
all right, like, are you saying this because like this is what's just on your mind? Are you saying this because you're really
Mm.
proud? And then if you're a little proud, I'm a little judgy. I'm a little judgy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's just kind of how I feel about it.
No, I agree because like you said, it's almost giving that exact same sentiment of like I could turn her or like
Mm-hmm.
like I could bag her kind of thing. And I think in the masculine community sometimes we can be proponents of misogyny and toxic masculinity and
Mm-hmm.
perpetuate that in our own ways. That could affect our relationships, and even like let's say this woman really isn't straight, it could affect her perception of what relationships are supposed to look like. I know they are happy, like they seem really happy together. They're like posting cute TikToks and in the locker or not in the locker room in the gym and stuff like that because they're on the same team. I think it's really cool and they look happy, but also I think they should really like do some internal investigating of like why am I with this person, both of them, because I'm just like
Right.
I feel like either person can end up getting hurt at the end of it if it's based off of just like I just want this person. I don't really want any other woman. You know what I mean? Like it just seemed kind of I don't know. It just
Yeah.
seems strange to me. Yeah.
Honestly, you're also talking to someone who like I'm not even gonna lie. I already know who in my life is with someone who like Shorty straight, right? Right? Okay. We don't gotta say it, right?
Yeah.
Because I know you
Right.
know.
Right.
I know you both know, but like, so where are we going with this? And it's so uncomfortable, and it's uncomfortable because it's like, who am I to define your relationship and how you should move in your relationships? But like,
Mm-hmm.
are we defining anything anymore? Um, because if it's confusing to us in the queer community, where these lines, if they do exist anymore, are drawn, how are we going to help our allies understand? How are we going to help the people who are not allies understand where we're coming from when we
Mm.
act the way that we act and do what we do, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to put anyone in a box. I know someone just heard me just say what I said and they're like, "Oh my god." No, like seriously, I try my best to think from different perspectives. And
Yeah.
especially when I'm trying to explain who I am to different people and how they're taking that
Mm-hmm.
information, like it's hard for me to define who I am when people out here doing certain things and they're like, well, does that apply to you? Like, no, 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 no. That's dumb.
Yeah.
I'm me. That's dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Because I think, like, the thing about a community is, like, there's just different types of people. And I think, even in the cis straight communities, there's different types of people, too, that they don't really acknowledge that they're different. I think sometimes we have stereotypes to kind of help us, like, make things simpler, even if it does, like, put people in boxes, like we just talked about. Um, so, yeah, I think we definitely could make it a little easier for like outsiders essentially or allies to understand a little bit more. But also just I think like I think we should also have the ability to work those out without having to like justify things too. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Right.
feel like because even it's like in the black community, like there's some things that we're not really proud of, things that are perpetuated, probably due to
Mm-hmm.
white supremacy, but like, we keep it. I feel like I like it when we keep it within, like, when there's like a white person coming in the conversation, you're like, whoa, whoa, hold on, like,
All
like,
right.
why are you trying to interject? You know what I'm saying? So, like, I definitely agree, but also I'm just kind of like, okay, this is family business. We got to figure this out. We're working through it because it's generations of trauma, and I think it's the same with like the queer community too, especially the Black queer community. It's a lot to unpack.
That's a fact. And like just flipping the script for just one moment, right? What you spoke about immediately reminded me of a video I saw on TikTok where a gay black man was talking about, in a funny, flirtatious way that, they were out in a club and they had a stud approach them and, was flirting with them. And I'm not gonna lie,
Mm-hmm.
I have heard this before. And it's another
Right.
thing that left me in straight confusion because I'm not sure what's happening here. I'm not 100% sure if those studs, not me, those studs are
Right.
exploring their sexual identity, or
Mm-hmm.
if they're trying to make the person on the receiving end of that flirtation feel good about themselves. Like maybe it's not like that
Mm-hmm.
deep. Maybe it's like, oh, you look good, and let me hype you up real quick. Is it liquor? I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
like, what are your thoughts on like when any group is flirting with a group that on paper they normally don't flirt with, and
Mm-hmm.
does that change their identity, the receiving person's identity? Does that change? I don't know. It just feels like Pandora's box in terms of a conversation. But what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a really cool topic because it excites me a little bit because I think we're seeing how like maybe studs or masks are attracted to the femininity of a gay boy. Like, not saying they
Mm-hmm.
might not just be talking to like just femboys or like feminine gay men. They could be talking to masculine gay men too. But I think it's just like maybe if we kind of took gender out of it and didn't stick so much to like, okay, like, but you're supposed to like a girl, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right, right,
I
right.
think being right, so like I think being queer helps to kind of encapsulate all that, because I know for me, like I identify as pansexual, and so I think I could see where a masculine stud could be attracted to like a feminine gay boy. Like I could see
Right,
that. You know what I mean? Like uh you could just like what you like. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like fun because I feel like it's a space where you can explore things and like whatever. It is funny, you know what I mean? Like especially if like that guy's not interested in you. As long as it's like, like
right,
respectful. Like if they like
right,
doing too much then no. But like like it's kind of just funny. It's like wow, like and I think because I remember there was this one couple on TikTok where it was like a stud white woman, not sorry, not stud white woman, like more of like a butch white woman, but she, like she was like more masculine, and it was like this gay guy, and he was more femme, and they were like together. Like I think they broke up, but I remember it was going viral for a minute, and they were happy, and people were just so confused because they were just like, but what's going on? But I think it's just like when you take the gender out of it, you're like, I like the femininity. This attracts me about them. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I
yeah.
see it. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you made that connection because that helps me visualize it a little bit more, right? So, like, if I were, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting myself in it because I'm not afraid to do that, right? I wish someone would judge me. Too late, been done that. Um, I can see a scenario potentially where it's like, if I were around a gay man, doesn't matter necessarily the race, but let's say that
Mm-hmm.
they were as high in how they present in terms of femininity, right? And I can see a scenario where like that alone is what the attraction is to, and not necessarily the things that that person's prescribed as
Mm-hmm.
or described as prior to that interaction. Like I can see that being the case, right? Even if it hasn't happened
Mm-hmm.
to me, I'm open enough to see that perspective, and then that then changes the
Right.
narrative, that entire video. I mean, either way, dude was just like, hey, like I don't know, like I'm honored, but also no. But no, I love what you said. You said it's fun, and I do think
Yeah.
that's a great aspect of being queer. Period. Which is like we're not too stressed out about these boxes that we were put into originally. Like we're just enjoying, the human experience, and we're taking control of ours, and that's okay. Of course, as long as you're not hurting anybody, guys. I don't prescribe to everything in this world, but like as long as you're not hurting
Yeah.
nobody, go do what you got to do within reason.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, I
Hmm.
definitely agree. I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm itching to personally learn more about you, but also let our listeners learn more about you. We already said the main topic of the day is growing into my masculinity. Um, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know why that sounds so dope. I don't know, but
Because
I
it's
would
dope.
love to hear. I would have loved to hear your story as it relates to that topic. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I feel like, wow, yeah, my journey into masculinity, growing into it, it's definitely still ongoing. I definitely think, you never really, there's no end point, even for like people who were born masculine or male at birth, like it's something that you kind of come into and it ebbs and flows throughout life. I was born female at birth. And like I grew up in a Jamaican American household, so very much cross your legs, like, eat have the fork properly in your hand, like very much you need to
Right.
be a lady. And it was like hard because I think inside, like, I wanted to have my legs wide open, I wanted to play with the boys, I want to do this or whatever.
Right.
And so there was like periods of where like I hated my femininity, and then there was periods where I really wanted to be masculine but felt like I shouldn't do that, so I think growing up in even into adolescence and into adulthood, it was like trying to decipher, like, okay, like, is this me, like, what does this look like, what's my identity. And then when I moved to Atlanta after I had graduated from college, so I moved to Atlanta in like 2018, and in there I was able to like explore my sexuality, but also explore my masculinity, and it was. It's funny because I don't know if everybody else can relate to this experience of just like figuring out what masculinity looks like outside of like what society tells you it is. So like, you try it on different clothes. A lot of it doesn't fit. You try to figure out what's your
Mm-hmm.
vibe, what's your style. Um, Hanging around guys, and like it's cool, but I know for me, like, because I identify more as non-binary, you just feel kind of like, okay, like this is okay conversation, but it's getting weird. Like,
Right. Right.
and just trying to battle like maybe the acceptance of other guys and what it's like to be masculine, but also finding like what that balance of masculine is for you. It was kind of like a weird period for me. And I think there was times where I had some growing pains. There was times where I feel like, especially when it came to like courting women or dating women, I could be kind of like pushy, when it comes to like, okay, like I want to date you, I want to do this, stuff that
Right. Right.
you've seen like other guys do, you know what I'm saying? Or like,
Right.
this, you think this is how a guy's supposed to be, this is how masculinity looks like. But as you get older, as you learn more, read more, for me, I was just like, no, this is not what I want. I don't want masculinity that's like based out of like a white supremacist or patriarchal notion. I want something that's like more organic to me. Um, and so yeah, like Atlanta was a cool space for me because it's where I kind of found my identity outside of my family, found my identity outside of like maybe what society deemed as appropriate for like a black masculine person. Um, and I started to kind of like be more fluid and kind of get to the heart of like what I was feeling inside. And honestly, the weird thing about it is acknowledging my femininity helped me with my masculinity. So
Mm.
that was interesting for me too, because for a long time I had kind of pushed my femininity away. I was like, like, I don't want to be perceived as that, because you see femininity as like weak, or you see it as like, well, for me anyway, I was like, it's something to look down on in a sense, but you don't really have the words for it, but you kind of feel that. And I learned that
Mm-hmm.
that was femphobia. And then after learning about it, kind of helped me to like give the freedom to be like, okay, like, I don't have to denounce either side of myself. I can be, and from there, I feel like moving from Atlanta to New York, I was able to like kind of grow into what my image of masculinity would look like. I found like I have like really great brothers and my dad who are very like progressive, so they're not like toxic masculine or anything, so that helps, like
Mm-hmm.
having like examples of like, okay, like this is how a regular dude is. They're not perfect, but you know, it's like this is how they present their masculinity, but also learning from their mistakes as well, and learning from the mistakes I feel like in the black masculine community sometimes of like, you know, like not being as expressive, maybe not showing as much emotion, or like holding in a lot of emotion. Like I realize I can't do that. I need to get it out, you know, stuff like that. Um, so yeah, it's been a journey. I'm still learning, but I feel like I'm way more in my masculine than I ever have been, and it feels like healthier. You know what I mean?
I love that for you. And I love that you described it as it feels healthier. And like, I just am
Mm-hmm.
stuck on this idea that like how you defined masculinity was based on mirroring a man in your
Mm-hmm.
life or men in your life. And that is the case
Mm-hmm.
for so many people listening right now, which is like that I'm judging, who I am based on men. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes also confuses men because there are plenty of men who are like, well, are masks, people trying to replace men? And that's not the case. It's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as we define masculinity for ourselves, and in your case, you leaned into your femininity to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
You had to define it for yourself. You had to discover it for yourself, and you're still discovering it for yourself. And I think that
Yeah.
would be the case for men too. It's just we just don't really have those
Mm-hmm.
conversations out loud, because we only have those conversations when the man in particular is considered queer. If they're not, then we're
Yeah.
not saying femininity versus masculinity. It's just masculinity, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And I appreciate you said that, and I appreciate you're just being transparent about your experience. I feel like when I think about growing into my masculinity, I think there were a lot of phases, right? I went through a tomboy phase, and that wasn't really a phase. It was just like, hey, here are just the clothes that I'm wearing that has made me really feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. It was never about sexuality or attracting the same sex. I feel like
Mm.
the only time I was hyper aware of like how do I dress, how do I sound, how do my mannerisms show up when I'm like speaking to femmes in particular. It wasn't until I got into the corporate world that it like really came crashing down on me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I need to start making decisions because like when I got into corporate, like I had to choose what kind of clothes I was wearing,
Mm-hmm.
like that, like consciously. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't showing up
Yeah.
in a dress. I'm not even going to try to name a type of dress because I haven't worn dresses in so long. I don't know none of them,
Right.
but I'm not
Right.
showing up in heels. I'm not showing up with makeup. That doesn't mean I'm not a
Mm.
woman. It doesn't mean I have no feminine qualities about me. I just didn't see that for
Mm-hmm.
myself. But then I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
if I dress like a man, right? I'm just calling it for what it is.
Right.
I, what parts of it make me comfortable and what parts don't, right? So for me, I have a really
Mm.
large chest. And because of that, I hated, wearing like a nice collared shirt that was tucked into dress pants. But that
Yeah.
aligned more with how men were dressing in corporate. And so like my
Mm.
first, I want to say like 2 years, I was like super on point with it. I was like, you know what a finance bro is?
Yeah.
So I really got in my bag at one point when I was like, ooh, well, I have somebody to throw a vest on it. Like, I bet. So like I was wearing, the nice collared shirts with the nice dress pants and the nice shoes, and then I was like, yo,
Right.
vest. But then I remember someone called me a finance bro, and I was like, nah, chill. I'm not getting paid enough to be called a finance bro. I'm broke as shit. But
Real.
that was an important time for me. Like buying those clothes and wearing them and kind of feeling comfortable, but not quite.
Mm.
And then I was like, all right, so what makes me uncomfortable about this? And it was definitely the tucked in part. So I was like, all right, is there
Yeah.
a kind of style of clothes that I can wear where it's not tucked in, but it isn't like I'm wearing clothing wrong? And so to this
Mm.
day, I still wear like button down shirts, but like casual joints. And yeah, I'm one of
Mhm.
those lesbians that has like a lot of checkered patterns. It is what it is. All right, guys. There's but so many
Yeah.
patterns in the world. And I'll wear that with like jeans and some like decent sneakers or some nice dress shoes. And I will wear that every single day. That's my uniform. You'll catch me in that all day, every day.
Mhm.
Unless I'm flying, in which case
Right.
I'm in a hoodie and sweats. Point is, I had to kind of figure it out. And in my case too, I was basing it on men. And that
Mhm.
was just the clothing part. But I do want to flip it a little bit and talk about my personality. Because I'm not gonna lie,
Mhm.
I definitely tried to adjust my personality as I've gone through this.
Really.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie because I always tell people when I first meet them, I'm a nerd because
Mhm.
I'm already starting off with the thing that I was bullied with the most growing up, right? I just come out with my vulnerability
Mhm.
straight up. I'm like, yo, I'm a nerd. I'm a blurred. I'm a black nerd. That is a big part of my
Mhm.
personality, and I love that about me now. I didn't before, but I remember when I was talking to shorties back when I was like fresh, that baby gay phase, and because I
Right.
came from the hood, they wanted me to show masculinity in a more rough and tough
Mm.
way. And I'm curious if you
Yeah.
kind of went through that too. Like, for me, like girls would like literally just say it. I'm not gonna hold you. Like, it would just be like, "Oh, well, you're from the hood, so why aren't you like a little bit more rough, a little bit more tough?"
Mm.
I'm like, "Yo, look, I'm not out here trying to fight. I'm out here trying to get paid. Like, if I fight, I
Right.
may not be able to be outside anymore." But what about you? Like, did you ever catch
Yeah.
yourself either changing how you present in terms of personality, or was someone expecting a certain personality out of you?
Yeah, like my first girlfriend, I could feel that she wanted me to be a little bit more masculine. I could, like, I could tell she wanted me to present, like, wear more clothes that were like what she deemed appropriate for a masculine person or a stud, essentially. And I felt
Mm.
that because I remember like she would want me to wear certain things. I'm like, I don't want to wear that. Like it wasn't like, it wasn't bad, but it was like very like stereotypical maybe. And I still was a baby gay, so I was trying to like, you know, I was dealing with coming out to my family. I was dealing with a lot of stuff at the time, and so this adding on to it, I was like, I got so much other stuff going on. You know what I mean? And like
I already got enough
looking at
problems.
it, you know what I'm saying? Like, why you on my back? Like, I don't. I feel
Right.
bad. I didn't want to wear the checker. Like, she wanted me to wear the checker long sleeve. I was like, I don't want to wear that right now, Fred. Like, that's not my ministry right now. Like I'm trying to figure shit out.
Not my
Um,
ministry.
like I was like, bruh, like at the time, I really wanted to make her happy, but I also was like, I think I was so concerned with all my other stuff that like I didn't fully peep that she was trying to change my personality or change my expression. But also I think too, I just didn't have a full sense of my identity either. So I think maybe gave her a pass to think that she could kind of like push me in that way. But I think sometimes there are femmes that kind of do that, or just like people in general. I sometimes think about or wonder about if like in the white queer community they have the same issue, because sometimes I feel like not so much. I don't know, from an outsider looking in, it feels like you can be a little bit more fluid. I know me in my situation now, like my girl loves me for me and I could wear what I want. But I do feel like, especially in the black community, like sometimes it's very much like you have to look this way, you have to talk this way, you got to act this way. And if you show any like leaning towards femininity, or even just like that you're not fully like presented in this way, or like maybe like you're a blurred or whatever, like I don't know. I agree. I feel like in our community sometimes you're forced to like be a certain package. I think younger generations are kind of like breaking through that, because I love when there was the old stud and like the new mask like debate on TikTok
Yeah.
for a little bit. I think it was a couple years ago.
I love that
And the
though.
old
I want to
it
have a
was
real life
so
on my bot.
good.
I'm not gonna hold
Yeah, it was crazy. I appreciated it. I appreciated it because like the old studs were really upset, like, and they were just like, "What's going on?" And new studs were like, "I do what I want," and that's how it should be because we're putting ourselves through more stressful situations we don't have to put ourselves in. So yeah, I know I went on a tangent, but yeah, that was
No,
kind of
not at
like one
all.
of my yeah, that was one of like my most poignant experiences. I didn't come out till like my 20s, so I had like more time to not maybe be as influenced by like stereotypical like stud culture, especially of the 2010s. I think I dodged that, so that was kind of cool. Um, but but yeah, like it's a blessing and a curse. I think I was able to like figure out what my expression would be outside of like that, because I know I've heard people talk about how that time period really kind of like messed with them or like has made it harder for them to like get outside of that box. You know what I mean?
Right. No, definitely. I
Mm.
want to say, I feel like, so I'm 31, right? I've interacted with enough older studs to have known even during that time when I was growing into mine. Yeah, that's not my ministry, right? Like that, how
Mm-hmm.
they operate, like I know I'm not that. But then I also kind
Yeah.
of look at, I don't even know which gen we're even at right now. I'm not even gonna lie. But when I
Right.
look at
That's
the younger
real.
group, right? Because I'm technically a millennial, right? So when I look at the younger group and
Yeah.
even younger groups, I'm like, okay, I love this, but I'm gonna need to
Mm-hmm.
take this a little bit at a time because I'm a little overwhelmed, right? That's what inspired like the
Mm.
word of the day situation, because it's kind of like, wow, I really need a course.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hold you. I'm gonna need a
Yeah.
course on how to be queer because I'm not trying to offend, nor am I trying to confuse other people when I'm trying to describe who I am and what I represent, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's an interesting space to be in, but it's a journey I'm willing to go on and I'm excited to go on. And this is going to be my space to do that. Um, yeah. I mean, if someone wants to point me to a course that they actually do think is valid, I'll entertain it. But for now, the streets are going to be my course on how to be
Right.
queer. Yeah, that's a fact.
Exactly. Experience. Exactly.
But man, I cannot thank you enough for joining us on this pod. Like I, I,
Absolutely.
I, I keep saying it, and it's only because I really do mean it and believe it. I really don't think this podcast can represent the mask lesbian experience without actually having a diverse group of people who
Mm.
represent that or interact with this group on the pod. Like I can represent the entire community. That's fine, but that's not fair. And so I'm trying my best to be fair, and I was really scared that like people gonna think I'm creepy, saying like, "Yo, come
No.
on, let's like jumping on my pod." I've jumped into some DMs. I don't be jumping in DMs when I flirt with people, all right? But I'm saying all this to say like I appreciate that you took a chance on me, you took a chance on this pod, and came here and shared your story, shared your truth, and really just had a good time. I had a great time speaking with you today, for sure.
Thank you. Likewise, I appreciate you giving me a chance. Because I'm commenting like, oh shoot, like let's try it out. I hope they want to work with me, and so this was a great conversation. It was helping me to process things too. I hadn't even thought about. So I always appreciate like deep thinking and like just fun. So thank you for the experience. I love being here. It was great.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And thank you so much to the listeners. The listeners, I don't know what number we're gonna be at by the time this drops, but you know, I know what my vision is. I know what kind of moves I'm making to bring this podcast to life. And I would love if you support us in that. Whether you're jumping on social media and asking us questions that I can read out loud on the pod, whether you want to actually sign up to be a guest. I do not care who you are and what you are. I really want to hear all voices on this pod, right? At the end of the day, I'm always going to be a masculine lesbian, so that checkbox is there, right? So whether you are one, or if you're a part of the LGBTQIA plus community, or just one of the heteros, I'm here for it. Like let's talk. Let's talk about these experiences
Yeah.
and have fun and build a community. Um, You can follow us anywhere at Unstrapped the Podcast. You can also see our website, unstrappedthepodcast.com. However you find us is however you find us. Reach out. I do check my DMs. I actually do speak frequently to y'all. I speak to y'all more than I do my actual friends. But I just really want to hear from y'all so we can continue to make this podcast great. So yeah, thank you so much. Make sure you check out January. You want to let us know where they can follow you at again?
Yes, you can follow my business page. It's Femmes at Large, so it's Femmes ATLRG on Instagram and TikTok. But also, if you want to follow my personal on Instagram, you can just put in January Miller and then the number 3, and you can find me there. So yeah, go ahead and follow if you want more content, and also Unstrapped, because thank you. Unstrapped is a great space. I appreciate the space it's holding for all of us masks, no matter if we're trans masks. Because I was a little nervous. I was like, man, like, I'm trans mask, like it still count. And JJ was like, yeah. I was like, great.
Open
So,
door.
it was really cool. Yeah, it felt really safe and very warm. So I appreciate you holding the space for all of us, because you never know who's gonna be touched by it and who's gonna like relate to it. So thank you for this podcast, honestly.
All right, everyone. We're signing off. Here's a reminder to subscribe, share, follow, that generic thing, whatever. Yo, just keep in touch with us. Just keep in touch with us. We love y'all. We're here for you. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye.